We're coming to the end of 2021. I want to share some of my top games for the year as well as a few honourable mentions. First, some ground rules. Not going to be including any early access games, remasters, remakes, or MMORPGs. They're too difficult to compare with single player games, but I'll still give some games a mention. And I'll only be including games released in 2021. I haven't played every single game this year, so if you don't see your favourite game, let me know what it is in the comments. Right, honourable mentions. It was great revisiting the Mass Effect trilogy through the Legendary Edition. Number 2 has always been my favourite, but I found a new appreciation for the first Mass Effect game this time around, with features lost in the later games like the vehicle exploration, and it builds up on the lore of alien races and foreshadows events that don't get fully explored until the later games. I had a pretty chill time with Subnautica Below Zero. It's a pretty awesome single player survival game set underwater. I really enjoyed the base building, making discoveries, and eventually crafting my own vehicles. There's a new one, the Modular Sea Truck, and that's fully customizable and functions almost like a mobile base. Very cool. Overall, I didn't feel like it was different enough from the first game, but I still enjoyed my time with it. Another survival game would be the Norse-based Valheim, and what I played of Valheim so far has been brilliant. It lets you get really creative with sculpting the land and building massive bases. Progressing bosses and exploring your world with friends is awesome, but I'm waiting for it to fully come out of early access. And I'm currently playing through Pokemon Brilliant Diamond. It turns out it's the one Pokemon generation I missed, so I'm happy I'm finally getting to play it now. Trying to get my Pokemon Dream Team, which happens to be a team of entirely Generation 1 Pokemon. Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker is a pretty excellent expansion pack. Its soundtrack and story are better than most single player games, but I'm not including MMORPGs, but I will probably do a side video to talk about my experiences with Endwalker. Tainted Grail was a competent deck-building roguelike RPG I quite enjoyed. You get to manually explore randomly generated maps with different monsters, events, and stories. It's a just one more run kind of game where you'll get addicted and can't stop. It was just short of making it onto my top 10 list. Okay, honourable mentions out of the way, onto the list. Number 10. Aliens Fireteam Elite. It's a decent co-op shooter where you'll work together with others to fight through endless swarms of aliens and other creepers. If you enjoy the Alien movies or universe, the game is littered with its own little homages to the series, which help immerse you into the world. The campaign is worth a playthrough and it's pretty fun tackling the higher difficulties with friends. That's what I did and had a fun time. But it does quickly become repetitive, which prevents this game getting a better place on the list. Number 9. Bravely Default 2. It's a compelling JRPG. And while its story didn't quite pull on any heartstrings, as an old-school Final Fantasy fan, I thoroughly enjoyed the job system here. Unlocking new jobs as you play, leveling them up to unlock new abilities, then it's really satisfying mixing the abilities and jobs together to come up with really rewarding and cool combinations. It's a JRPG where you can actually enjoy the grind, with little features like the ability to speed up combat or take up to 4 turns early through the Brave system, but if you fail to kill enemies, your character will be wide open for 4 turns. Number 8. Bowser's Fury. It's not a full-scale game, but it should be. It was a bonus side game included with the remastered Super Mario 3D World, which is a fun couch co-op game on its own, but Bowser's Fury is a slightly different but cool Mario experience. It offers a more open and seamless Mario game, with typical 3D stages integrated into the world itself. Black Sludge has taken control of Bowser. He's lost his shit and powered up. While you're playing, every now and then you're going to hear some awesome metal as hell music building up. That's Bowser awakening. Everything changes and he's going to attack you no matter what you're in the middle of doing, and it's awesome fending him off. I love Bowser's new metal theme. It's just a very short but very polished Mario experience. Can I get more of this, please? Number 7. Ratchet & Clank: A Rift Apart. This is another 3D platformer and an actual full game this time. One of the biggest selling points of A Rift Apart is the ability to jump between dimensions. All PlayStation 5s come with SSDs as standard, and that allows for a tailored experience of super fast loading times, so you can seamlessly hop between dimensions. It's a pretty cool experience when you're jumping between dimensions like mad. I just wish it happened more often. You mostly use it to jump back and forth between 2 very similar locations, like an alternative reality of the same location. I always enjoy Ratchet & Clank 3D platformers. I always go for the platinum trophies, and I always enjoy unlocking new weapons and leveling them up. but I didn't feel like there was quite as much new stuff in this one, but I still had a great time. Number 6. Metroid Dread. I went into this Metroid without huge expectations. I don't have a ton of experience with the series, and from the outside, Dread looked quite expensive for a 2D platformer, but I ended up getting sucked into this blast from the past. Being a Metroid game, you'd expect sometimes it can be a little bit frustrating getting lost in the maze-like structured levels, but I didn't find myself getting quite as lost as I usually do. That said, there are still plenty of things to explore and discover off the beaten track, and I just enjoyed the gameplay. There's some pretty epic boss battles and there's a constant feeling of progression. You'll unlock quite a lot of new abilities and weapons that help open up paths that maybe you couldn't access before. This is the next game in the 2D Metroid series and has some pretty surprising developments with Samus and the story. No spoilers though. Number 5. Halo Infinite Multiplayer. I just want to recommend the multiplayer with Halo Infinite. I'm waiting for them to patch in co-op before I pick up the campaign. The era of Halo 3 parties with friends was the best, and Infinite's gameplay kind of brings us back to Halo 3 with no loadouts. Most of the guns feel great. I love energy swords and crushing groups of players with gravity hammers. The grapple hook is a completely new addition. I never thought I'd see it in Halo, and it's very fun swinging around like Spider-Man, or grappling onto items, players, or vehicles. Can't wait to make use of the grapple hook in the campaign. I've already had some sessions with friends online and recreated some of our old Halo nights, but I will also say the game's systems need a bit of work. There's no incentives or rewards for actually winning games, and I'm not a big fan of unlocks being tied to specific armor cores. I'll unlock something cool, but then it won't be compatible with my favourite armor set, and that just doesn't feel good. But we've already seen some improvements to the daily challenges since launch, so hopefully the devs continue to improve the game and listen to feedback. Number 4. Resident Evil Village. After a few previews, I was really worried about the direction RE8 was going in, especially after the revolutionary number 7 brought us back to true horrors and haunted mansions. But after playing Village, I can confirm it's brilliant in its own right. It's well paced with diverse locations and gameplay rewards exploration and discoveries, with even some optional bosses to seek out. Something I was not expecting was the pretty awesome cast of villains, with Lady Dominatrix exploding as a fan favourite. There's some pretty unforgettable moments, but I don't want to spoil anything, so keeping this one brief. If you don't already own it, I would strongly consider picking it up. Number 3. Age of Empires 4. This is another game I was really worried about. I'm a big fan of the dying genre of real-time strategy and Age of Empires 2. But from the previews I thought we'd be getting something closer to number 3. But Age of Empires 4 manages to go in a completely new direction, from both 2 and 3. From the English to the Mongols, each race feels unique, and they all have very different playstyles, far more than in previous games. The English are great for turtle players, because they specialise in defences with epic fortresses and walls, while Mongols don't have any of that but can quickly build up massive armies and move mobile buildings to dominate resources on the map. Campaign has much more diverse types of missions, but I'll always thoroughly love fortress defense missions or laying siege to castles the most. There's just something about these epic last stands, holding out and being completely outnumbered that I thoroughly enjoy. It might be from my love of Lord of the Rings and its siege battles. The only thing I don't quite like would be the history lessons, and what I mean by this are story missions have documentary style cinematics. They're not to my preference, and I do prefer the older style cinematics where you felt a part of the story. I don't mind the documentary style video rewards for completing bonus objectives or challenges, but I don't believe they should take the place of the main story. Number 2. Neo 2 for PC. Yeah, I'm cheating a little bit. This came out last year for the PS4, but I was waiting for the PC launch of this game, and it was worth the wait. Neo 2 is a faster paced Souls-like with tight combat, and my favourite addition, the demon form transformations for those clutch moments. There's also a large selection of different weapons, allowing you to make your own build and playstyle. I love Souls games, but Neo 2 can be pretty tough at times. I had a bit of trouble with one or two of the bosses early on, and it took me a little while to adapt to the difficulty, but if you can rise to the challenge, it's worth sticking through. It's that kind of game where you get that high or overwhelming awesome feeling from overcoming a tough challenge. Number 1. My game of the year 2021 is Loop Hero. This is a unique indie game that's part roguelike, part card game, part auto battler, part strategy RPG. It's the game I enjoyed the most. I love the 2D pixel art styles and dark themes, Hell, I can even play as a necromancer and have swarms of undead minions. I'm a big fan of dark fantasy themes, death, demons, overcoming despair and gloomy, hopeless worlds. And that ties in with a lich that's put this world into a timeless loop. And it's up to you to fix things and set out on expeditions with randomly generated paths and obstacles. It's quite a unique and complicated game to explain. An expedition is a location that loops around itself, and you'll auto-battle increasingly difficult monsters as you wander the loop, looting equipment and upgrades. You'll build your own deck of cards that change the world, or create buildings with different effects. It gets really interesting when you start experimenting and combining different buildings together to create new types of buildings, with detrimental or beneficial effects. For example, if you place a village next to a vampire's mansion, it'll become a ransacked village. And after a little while, the vampirism will spread and it'll become the Count's Lands, which functions as an upgraded village that restores health when you pass through. The game rewards this kind of experimentation and allows you to discover powerful game-changing combos. The retro soundtrack is epic, and Loop Hero is thoroughly addictive, even if you don't succeed at beating big bosses. You can earn resources that can be used to place and upgrade buildings in your main camp, for permanent upgrades to your character that'll make the difference next time you tackle the boss. Boop the like button to help spread this to more people, and let me know your favourite games of 2021 in the comments. Peace for now.